November 8, 1950, a U.S. pilot sees something that shouldn't exist. A swept-wing jet screaming toward him at 600 miles per hour. His radio crackles.
What the hell is that?
It's a MiG-15, a Soviet jet that shouldn't be here.
In seconds, this American pilot realizes his plane is slower, can't climb as high, and is outgunned. The age of American air dominance just ended. Jets were now fighting jets for the first time in history, and the rules of aerial combat had completely changed. Some of these early Cold War jets became legends. Others got their pilots killed. By the end of this ranking, you'll know which planes dominated the first jet age and which ones should never have left the ground. Stay with me because number 1 will surprise you. Number 10, Gloster Meteor, Britain's missed opportunity. The Meteor was Britain's first operational jet fighter, entering service in 1944. By the time the Korean War started, it was already outdated, but Britain sent them anyway. Here's the problem. The Meteor was designed with straight wings, which limited its top speed to around 600 miles per hour. When it faced MiG-15s over Korea, the results were brutal. MiGs could outclimb, outdive, and outrun the Meteor at high altitude. British pilots quickly learned to avoid MiG Alley entirely. The Meteor worked fine for ground attack and reconnaissance, where its stability and reliability shined. But in air-to-air combat against modern swept-wing jets, it was a death trap. Australia deployed Meteors to Korea and lost several in combat before switching tactics. What really hurts about the Meteor is that Britain had the technology to build something better. They just stuck with an outdated design too long. The Meteor represents the gap between World War II thinking and the jet age. The Meteor couldn't compete in dogfights, but at least Britain tried. Some nations copied other people's homework and still got it wrong. Number 9, Shenyang J-5, Chinese MiG-17 copy. China saw the MiG-17 and thought, we can build that. The result was the J-5, and honestly, it worked. Sort of. Chinese factories produced thousands of these fighters throughout the 1950s and 60s. The J-5 had the same design as the Soviet MiG-17. Swept wings, afterburner, capable of supersonic flight in a dive. On paper, it should have been excellent. In practice, Chinese manufacturing quality wasn't up to Soviet standards, let alone Western ones. Chinese J-5s saw combat in various border conflicts and during the early Vietnam War. They were good enough to be dangerous, but not good enough to dominate. Engine reliability was questionable, and the avionics were basic even by 1950s standards. The J-5 ranks low, not because the design was bad, the MiG-17 was excellent, but because the execution was mediocre. It proved that copying advanced technology without the industrial base to support it produces inferior results. China struggled with quality control, but some nations had bigger problems. They picked the wrong mission entirely. Number 8, North American F-86D Sabre. The interceptor nobody wanted. Take the legendary F-86 Sabre, remove the guns, add a huge radar nose, and load it with unguided rockets. Congratulations, you've created the F-86D, a plane that solved a problem that didn't exist. The D model was designed as an all-weather interceptor to shoot down Soviet bombers. It had sophisticated radar for the 1950s and could carry 24 rockets in a retractable tray. The problem? Unguided rockets were terrible at hitting, maneuvering targets, and there were no Soviet bombers attacking America. The F-86D was fast and could climb well, but without guns it was useless in dogfights. When the Korean War ended, these interceptors sat on runways waiting for an invasion that never came. The Air Force eventually realized their mistake and developed gun-armed versions. But by then, better interceptors existed. Over 2,500 F-86Ds were built, and most spent their careers on boring alert duty. It's ranked low because it was a capable aircraft built for the wrong mission. Wrong mission, wrong weapons, wrong era. But at least the F-86D was based on a good design. Our next plane was flawed from the start. Number 7, Republic F-84 Thunderjet, the straight-wing workhorse. The F-84 was America's first successful post-war jet fighter, and it did one thing really well: ground attack. With straight wings and a thick fuselage, the Thunderjet could carry an impressive bomb load and had good range for a jet. In Korea, F-84s flew thousands of close air support and interdiction missions. They bombed bridges, attacked supply lines, and supported ground troops. American ground forces loved the F-84 because it showed up when called and delivered ordnance accurately. But in air-to-air combat, the F-84 was outclassed by swept-wing jets like the MiG-15. It was too slow, couldn't climb fast enough, and had poor high-altitude performance. F-84 pilots avoided dogfights whenever possible. The Thunderjet ranks at 7 because it was honest about what it was, a ground attack aircraft that occasionally fought in the air. It served its purpose reliably, even if it wasn't glamorous. Republic built over 7,500 of them, which proves somebody liked it. The F-84 knew its limits and stayed in its lane, but some aircraft tried to do everything and failed at most of it. Number 6. De Havilland Vampire, the gentleman's jet. Britain's second jet fighter, the Vampire, was a quirky aircraft with a twin-boom design and a cute, almost friendly appearance. Unlike the Meteor, the Vampire was never meant to be a frontline fighter by the Korean War era. What the Vampire did well was training. It was easy to fly, forgiving of mistakes, and gave pilots their first taste of jet performance without trying to kill them. Several air forces use Vampires to transition pilots from propeller planes to jets. The Vampire also worked as a ground attack aircraft in colonial conflicts and smaller wars throughout the 1950s. Its reliability and simple design made it popular with air forces that couldn't afford cutting-edge fighters. It ranks at 6 because while it never dominated any role, it served competently in several. The Vampire was the reliable friend who always showed up. Not exciting, but dependable. Britain's training jet was dependable. America's next fighter was supposed to be revolutionary, but became controversial instead. Number 5. Republic F-84F Thunderstreak finally swept wings. Republic looked at the straight-wing F-84 and thought, what if we gave it swept wings? The result was the F-84F Thunderstreak, and it was genuinely better. The swept wings improved high-speed performance significantly. The F-84F could reach 695 miles per hour and had much better high-altitude capabilities than its straight-wing predecessor. NATO air forces loved it, deploying hundreds across Europe throughout the 1950s. The Thunderstreak carried nuclear weapons and served as NATO's primary strike aircraft for years. It could penetrate enemy airspace, deliver its payload, and get out fast. The low-level flying qualities were excellent, making it hard to intercept. However, it never saw major combat, which makes it hard to rank higher. The F-84F was good at everything but never proven in the crucible of war. It was reliable, capable, and thoroughly professional, the accountant of fighter jets. The F-84F was NATO's workhorse but lacked combat glory. Our next aircraft had both capability and controversy. Number 4. Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-17, the MiG-15's dangerous little brother. Don't be fooled by the name. The MiG-17 was completely redesigned from the MiG-15. It had a new wing, an afterburner, and could actually go supersonic in a dive. More importantly, it fixed many of the MiG-15's handling problems. North Vietnamese pilots used MiG-7s to shoot down American F-4's Phantoms and F-10's Thunder Chiefs throughout the Vietnam War. How? Superior maneuverability at low speeds. The MiG-17 could turn inside faster, more modern jets, and those 3 cannons were devastating at close range. The Soviets built thousands, and Chinese factories produced thousands more as the J-5. The MiG-17 served with over 30 air forces and saw combat on 4 continents. Its combat record speaks for itself. It ranks at 4 because while it was excellent in a dogfight, it lacked the speed and technology to compete with second-generation jets. By the 1960s, the MiG-17 was obsolete, yet it kept scoring kills anyway. The MiG-17 proved old dogs could learn new tricks, but the top 3 aircraft defined the early Cold War in ways nothing else could. Number 3. North American F-86 Sabre, America's Knight. The Sabre earned its reputation in blood over MiG Alley. With a 10-to-1 kill ratio against MiG-15s, the F-86 became the symbol of American air power in Korea. What made the Sabre special was balance. It wasn't the fastest or the highest flying jet, but it handled beautifully. Pilots described it as an extension of their thoughts, smooth, responsive, and predictable. That hydraulic flight control system gave American pilots the edge in high-speed dogfights. The 6.50 caliber machine guns provided good firepower, and the radar-ranging gun sight helped pilots hit targets at difficult angles. Over 9,000 Sabres were built in various versions, serving with dozens of air forces worldwide. Captain Joe McConnell scored 16 kills in a Sabre, becoming America's first triple jet ace. Stories like his made the F-86 legendary. It ranks third because it delivered when it mattered most. But two aircraft were even more influential. The Sabre won the air war over Korea, but it learned everything it knew from fighting the aircraft at number 2. Number 2. Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-15, the Soviet shock. When the MiG-15 appeared over Korea, it changed everything. Suddenly, American pilots faced an opponent that could outclimb, outgun, and fight at altitudes where American jets struggled. The MiG-15 was designed for one mission: kill American B-29 bombers. That 37mm and twin 23mm cannons could shred a bomber with a few hits. The high-altitude performance was exceptional, and the climb rate terrified bomber crews. Soviet and Chinese pilots flew MiG-15s against UN forces throughout Korea. The battles over MiG Alley became legendary, with Sabres and MiGs twisting through the sky at 600 miles per hour. The MiG-15 proved the Soviets could match American technology. Over 12,000 were built, making it one of the most produced jets in history. It served with dozens of air forces and saw combat for decades. The MiG-15 ranks second because it forced America to completely rethink air combat. The MiG-15 shocked the West, but there's one aircraft that changed military aviation more than any other. Number 1. English Electric Canberra, Martin B-57, the jet bomber revolution. Wait, a bomber at number 1? Hear me out. The Canberra proved jet bombers could actually work, and it influenced every combat aircraft that followed. Britain's Canberra was fast, high-flying, and reliable. It could reach 48,000 feet, where enemy fighters couldn't catch it. The design was so good that America license-built it as the B-57, and it became one of the few British aircraft ever adopted by the U.S. military. The Canberra flew combat missions in Korea, Malaya, Vietnam, the Falklands, and a dozen other conflicts. It served as a bomber, reconnaissance platform, electronic warfare aircraft, and target marker. Some variants are still flying today, over 70 years after first flight. Why does it rank first? Because the Canberra proved the concept that dominated the Cold War. High-speed jets could penetrate enemy airspace, deliver weapons accurately, and escape before defenses reacted. Every strike aircraft since owes something to the Canberra's design philosophy. It wasn't the flashiest or the fastest, but the Canberra changed how wars would be fought for the next 50 years. From the swept-wing revolution to the birth of modern air warfare, these early Cold War jets proved that speed, altitude, and technology now mattered more than raw courage. The MiG-15 and F-86 became legends in the skies over Korea, but the Canberra quietly revolutionized how nations thought about air power. Which of these Cold Warriors do you think deserves the top spot? Let me know below and hit subscribe for the next ranking in this series.